Ethan was a 12-year-old boy who lived in a small village near a vast forest. Every afternoon after school, he loved exploring the woods. The forest was filled with tall pine trees, singing birds, and hidden streams. Ethan dreamed of becoming a wildlife photographer one day, so he always carried a small camera with him. One cool autumn afternoon, Ethan wandered deeper into the forest than usual. The leaves crunched beneath his boots as he followed a narrow trail. Suddenly, he heard a strange sound. It was a weak cry coming from somewhere ahead. Curious and concerned, Ethan carefully followed the sound. After a few minutes, he found its source. Beneath a large oak tree lay a magnificent eagle. Its golden-brown feathers were covered in dirt, and one of its wings appeared injured. The eagle looked frightened. When Ethan moved closer, it tried to spread its wings but collapsed in pain. Ethan knew he had to help. Slowly, he removed his jacket and gently covered the bird to keep it calm. He spoke softly to reassure it. "Don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you." The eagle stared at him with sharp golden eyes. For a moment, Ethan felt nervous. It was the largest bird he had ever seen, yet he could also see that it was suffering. Ethan carefully lifted the injured eagle. It was heavier than he expected. Holding it securely, he hurried back toward the village. The journey home felt much longer than usual. Several times he stopped to rest, but he refused to give up. By the time he reached the village, the sun was beginning to set. His parents were surprised when they saw him carrying the giant bird. "Ethan, what happened?" his mother asked. "I found this eagle in the forest. It's hurt," Ethan explained. His father examined the wing carefully. "This bird needs professional care," he said. Together, they contacted a local wildlife rescue center. A wildlife expert named Sarah arrived later that evening. She gently inspected the eagle and confirmed that its wing was injured but not broken. "You found it just in time," Sarah said. "Without help, it might not have survived." Ethan felt relieved. He watched as Sarah treated the eagle's injuries. The bird seemed calmer now. Sarah explained that the eagle would need several weeks of recovery before it could return to the wild. Ethan looked at the majestic bird and made a promise to himself. He would do everything he could to help it heal. The next morning, Ethan woke up early and rushed outside to check on the eagle. Sarah had placed the bird in a large protected enclosure near the wildlife center where it could recover safely. Ethan visited every day after school. At first, the eagle remained cautious. Whenever Ethan approached, it watched him carefully with its sharp eyes. Ethan respected its space and quietly helped Sarah with simple tasks. He brought fresh water, cleaned the enclosure, and prepared food. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, the eagle began to trust Ethan. It no longer backed away when he entered the enclosure. Sometimes it even walked toward him, as if recognizing its young rescuer. Sarah was impressed by Ethan's dedication. "You have a special connection with animals," she told him one afternoon. Ethan smiled. Helping the eagle had become the most important part of his day. As the eagle recovered, its strength returned. The injured wing healed little by little. Sarah started gentle exercises to help the bird regain its ability to fly. At first, the eagle could only spread its wings for a few seconds before becoming tired. But each day it improved. One evening, Ethan noticed something unusual. The eagle climbed onto a high, wooden platform inside the enclosure and stretched its wings wide. For the first time since the rescue, it looked truly powerful again. The bird jumped from the platform and glided a short distance before landing safely. Ethan cheered with excitement. "You did it!" he shouted. Sarah laughed. "That's a very good sign. Soon it will be ready for longer flights." The following week, the eagle practiced every day. Its flights became longer and stronger. The bird soared from one side of the enclosure to the other with confidence. Ethan felt proud, but he also knew what was coming. The eagle belonged in the wild, not in captivity. Soon it would have to leave. The thought made him a little sad. He had grown attached to the magnificent bird. One afternoon, Sarah shared some good news. "The eagle is almost fully recovered," she said. "If everything goes well, we can release it next week." Ethan looked at the eagle perched proudly on a branch. He knew Sarah was right. The bird deserved its freedom. Although he would miss it, Ethan understood that true kindness sometimes means letting go. As the release day approached, Ethan spent as much time as possible with the eagle. He wanted to make every moment count. Deep down, he hoped the eagle would remember him after it returned to the endless skies. Finally, the day of the eagle's release arrived. Ethan could hardly contain his excitement. Early that morning, he joined Sarah, his parents, and a few wildlife volunteers as they traveled to a remote area of the forest. The location was perfect: high cliffs, tall trees, and wide-open skies stretched in every direction. The eagle waited calmly inside a large transport crate. It seemed strong, healthy, and ready to return to its natural home. Ethan looked at the bird and remembered the day he had found it injured beneath the oak tree. It was hard to believe how much had changed since then. When they reached the release site, Sarah carefully placed the crate on the ground. "This is it," she said with a smile. Everyone stepped back. Ethan's heart raced as Sarah slowly opened the door. For a moment, nothing happened. The eagle remained inside the crate, looking around at the familiar wilderness. Then it stepped forward and spread its magnificent wings. Sunlight reflected from its golden feathers. With one powerful leap, the eagle launched into the air. Ethan watched in amazement as it soared above the trees. The bird circled once, then twice, climbing higher with every turn. It looked stronger than ever. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. He felt both happy and sad at the same time. The eagle was free exactly where it belonged. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. The eagle flew back toward the group. It circled above Ethan several times before letting out a loud cry. Then it glided gracefully overhead, almost as if it were saying goodbye. "Look at that," Sarah whispered. "I think it remembers you." Ethan smiled. He would never forget that moment. The eagle turned once more and disappeared into the distant mountains. Over the following months, Ethan continued visiting the forest. He carried his camera and spent hours observing wildlife. Inspired by his experience, he began learning more about animal conservation and rescue work. One afternoon, while hiking near the cliffs, Ethan spotted a familiar shape high in the sky. An eagle soared above him, powerful and free. The bird circled briefly before flying toward the mountains. Ethan couldn't be certain it was the same eagle, but deep inside, he believed it was. The experience changed his life. He realized that even one person can make a difference. By helping a single injured animal, he had saved a life and given a magnificent creature a second chance. From that day forward, Ethan dreamed not only of becoming a wildlife photographer, but also of protecting animals and nature. And whenever he looked up at the sky and saw an eagle soaring among the clouds, he remembered the incredible friendship that had started with a simple act of kindness. Years passed, and Ethan never forgot the eagle he had rescued. The experience had changed his life forever. What began as a simple walk through the forest had inspired a lifelong passion for protecting wildlife. As he grew older, Ethan spent every spare moment studying animals, nature, and photography. He saved money for a better camera and traveled to forests, mountains, and nature reserves whenever he could. His photographs captured the beauty of wildlife and helped people understand why animals needed protection. Eventually, Ethan became a professional wildlife photographer and conservationist. His work appeared in magazines and nature programs across the country. Many people admired his photographs, but Ethan always said the same thing when asked what inspired him. It all started with an injured eagle. One spring morning, Ethan returned to the same forest where he had found the bird years earlier. The forest looked much the same. Tall trees swayed gently in the breeze. Birds sang from the branches, and sunlight filtered through the leaves. As he walked along the old trail, memories came rushing back. He remembered hearing the weak cry, finding the injured eagle and carrying it home. He remembered the weeks of care, the release day, and the moment the eagle soared back into the wild. Ethan climbed a hill overlooking the valley and set up his camera. He hoped to photograph some wildlife before sunset. Hours passed peacefully. Then, just as the golden evening light spread across the mountains, a large shadow crossed the ground. Ethan looked up. High above him flew a magnificent eagle. Its wings were broad and powerful. It circled gracefully in the sky before landing on a nearby cliff. Through his camera lens, Ethan noticed something remarkable. The eagle was not alone. Beside it stood two young eagles. Ethan's heart filled with joy. The eagle he had rescued years ago had survived, thrived, and built a family of its own. For several minutes, he watched quietly as the three birds stood together. Then the adult eagle launched into the air. The younger birds followed. Together they soared across the valley, disappearing into the glowing sunset. Ethan smiled. The rescue had saved more than one life. Because that eagle had survived, a new generation now filled the skies. As darkness slowly settled over the forest, Ethan packed his camera and began the walk home. He felt grateful for the lesson the eagle had taught him years ago. A single act of kindness can create a chain of hope that continues far into the future. And somewhere high above the mountains, an eagle and its family flew freely. Through the endless sky, a living reminder that compassion can change the world.